Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Leverage podcast. Today, I'm excited to get to know and learn a little bit more about what Brandon has to offer. So far, everything that I've seen and talked to him about, I'm really excited about what he does in that coaching space. So Brandon, tell us a little bit about who is Brandon, what do you do, and how do you make money?
Yeah, so my name is Brandon Carter. I'm in North Carolina. I moved here a couple of years ago from Sacramento, and I've been an operator for over 30 years. And that means that I've run corporate companies. So I was with one company for 24 years, another company for 3, and another company for 3. And I found that there was a need for operators that are high level in an entrepreneurial world. So I run EOS operating system, and my wife is an EOS implementer. And we find that small business owners don't typically have leverage with high level talent, and they get stuck in the business. So I found a need for coaching. I found a great fulfillment in that coaching as well. Some people call it a fractional integrator, but a lot of times it's just a thought partner that meets with someone weekly. And what I do is I help visionaries that they need to clarify what their vision is, and then really articulate what steps need to happen in a structured pace. And I meet with them weekly, and what happens is we make progress and they get results. Sometimes that progress is through hiring talent, whether it's a virtual assistant or another level of talent, and they delegate properly, they train the person properly, and they get some time back. So one of the things that I tell most people is my clients don't work Friday. I don't work Friday either. And what that tells people is, especially someone that's working every single Friday, they can't take the day off before a 3-day weekend. Is it just gives them a little bit of time freedom where like they can still have their business be successful without them needing to be the business.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes down to, right, building the right structure, right, building the right leverage in place, building the right systems. And man, we didn't even talk about that before, but you brought it up, right, as EOS. Oh gosh, I'm such a huge fanatic on EOS that, in fact, I've incorporated that into 2 of my different businesses and hired an implementer for both. And I'm currently with an implementer with the business that we have now. So that tells me a lot about, just that one statement tells me about your experience as an operator, right, and the understanding and the values, right, of having good strong visions, good strong values, good strong just the overall structure, right, of the overall business. So give me a little bit more about that. Like how is that EOS, not that we need to talk to the show about the EOS, but how has EOS and your coaching, right, kind of formed together to make you very, very attractive, I would think, right, to a lot of people that need you as a coach?
Yeah, so in the EOS world, in that vernacular, I'm an integrator. My score is a 96 as an integrator. I didn't know what that meant. And 3 years ago when I read Traction, it all just made sense to me, but it wasn't like an aha moment. I'm like, okay, yeah, this seems good. This is just what structure looks like because I came from a world of structure. But in an entrepreneurial world, the visionaries are like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. And what they get excited about it, and they're like, okay, I can do this, and this is perfect, and this is what we're going to do. This is what our accountability chart. This is roles and responsibilities. This is get it, want it, the capacity to do it, and they buy into it. They drink the Kool-Aid, and then they see the fall that happens between the quarters, and they're like, and I see it because my wife's an implementer, and so she meets with people, and she's like, how was this quarter? I'm like, well, our rock completion was 25%. We had this, and we had this. So I saw a lack of execution, and that's typically on the integrator to force the execution, which is change management inside of an entrepreneur company, which is usually getting the visionary to buy into change, which can be very difficult. Mm-hmm. So I think where I come into play in that is that I speak the integrator language. I understand the brain. I also have leverage with a visionary that is a business owner, and they're very passionate. And I think with my experience, I think I can have a better conversation than most integrators that are in the business would be able to do. I can speak from a different perspective. Yep. And so it's really helped. I'm kind of like that in between session to help them get some traction. So I'm an implementer's best friend because I don't need to be hired as the integrator in the business, but I can also help their client find success in those intervals.
Yeah, and I think that's a plug I'll put in here for everybody that hasn't heard of it. One of the most powerful books around this, of course, is Rocket Fuel, right? Where they talk
Yeah.
about visionary integrator. And when I read that, I'm like, the light bulb moment was like, oh my gosh, that is exactly right. I am the visionary, and my director of operations at the time was my integrator. And I think as my corporate background probably figured that out just naturally. But once I read it, I was like, we both laughed all the time because she's like, oh my God, that's so you in the examples as a visionary. And I'm like, yeah, that's so you as the integrator too. So, but it's such a powerful dance, right? Between if you get the visionary and the integrator on the same page, right? And they're balancing each other out, the business is just unstoppable, right?
Yeah, and it's a challenging role. The thankless job of the integrator is, usually you have to keep a visionary tame and like, okay, they got all these ideas, and it's like, hey, that's a great idea, but we're not going to do that right now. We're going to stick to the course. You told me this was important, and that takes the leverage that takes. How you get that leverage is the mutual respect. You have to have experience, but I have to be able to talk to someone that they understand rather than just saying that's not a good idea, because the visionary is going to be, it's especially in most companies, the visionary is the owner. And so you're not just talking to a person that is passionate about an idea, you're talking to the owner of the company, and they're your boss, and you're like, no, we're going to do this instead. So the relationship's very delicate, because it not only takes a strong personality as an integrator, but it also takes the visionary to take a seat in the passenger seat and say, let me let you drive. And that's difficult.
Yeah, you're spot on with that, because I've been in both roles, right? I've been not so much the implementer, because that wasn't me, but in being the business owner as the visionary. But I've obviously worked for people too, and maybe I wasn't the integrator at the time, but it definitely, you get to see those dynamics work, right? Where it is I don't know if it's a slippery slope, right? But it is a dance between I'm the boss. This is what I want. This is what we're going to do it. And the integrator's like, cool, you do understand A, B, C, and D are the trigger points or after effects, right? And it's like, well, we're still going to do it. And you're like, all right, well, I at least said what I had to say as the integrator. So I guess we're marching forward.
Well, a lot of my coaching came from a start of how can I help integrators with that relationship?
Yeah.
And I realized that a lot of companies have an integrator that was really, it's a second in command, but a lot of times it was their wife or there's their son in the business, and they're put into a position that because they were proximity, and typically you're having to try to help that person or the visionary understand that they need to hire someone and give them the keys to the car, and that's difficult. And so I think with my experience and with where I'm at with a lot of my I guess my business knowledge, I can help them understand that and really let go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. I love that. And I think, the other thing I talk a little bit about too, and I'm not sure if you've ever delved into that, is Lencioni's 6 Working Geniuses, right?
Yeah.
And how that aligns with the integrator and the discerner, right? And the galvanizer, and just how that entire team is made up. And if you kind of have that visionary, maybe at the wanderer and the innovator style, right? Usually that discerner is almost the integrator, right? Or saying, hey, in a healthy way, you got 22 ideas. That's friggin' awesome. That's the way your brain works. But let's ask enough questions to make sure we get it down to the best idea, right? So I think you hit that spot on, right? Visionaries are typically full of ideas that change on a frequent basis, and that can really frustrate sometimes integrators, right? Because they're just like, hey, I got like 30% of my time into this project, and now we're switching gears again.
Yeah. And completely aware of Patrick Lencioni, all of his talk about team, but I did take Working Genius, and I'm galvanizing and tenacity are the two of my
Got it.
my pieces that are, if you're familiar with that assessment.
Yes.
And I've taken Colby and Gallup Poll and Clifton Strengths and a lot of them. And in fact, I'm actually a COO with a company that has a personality and cognitive assessment that fits people to specific roles. So we can assess a director of operations or a sales manager or, those kinds of things. And realistically, it's looking where those edges rub and what the way that you can actually fit someone in, rather than saying, a lot of them put them in a box, right? And you're like, well, how does this person's box fit into what I'm doing? I talked about a little bit about my integrator score. My integrator score on the crystallizer is a 96. So I mean, I am wired to do this job, and it's understanding how those personalities and how not even just like, oh, I have this type of personality or I'm traded this way. Like DISC, I'm a DI. I'm very dominant. I have these traits.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work in this situation?
Yeah.
So there's an emotional intelligence that happens as well. In our assessment, I'm super intense and I'm super independent. Well, intensity to you, if you're calm, might show up as anger. You're like, why are you angry? I'm like, I'm not angry, but we got to get this done right now. And they're like, why are you yelling? I'm like, I'm not yelling, but I have a tone that tells you that this has to happen with urgency. And once I learned that, I'm like, oh, this person is the opposite to that. They're the yang to my yin.
Yeah.
And so I need to say, hey, Mike, can you help me with something?
Right.
You know, I this has to happen today before the end of the day. Can you help me get that done? Now you're not like feeling like I'm coming at you like, why are you yelling at me? But you understand that there's time sensitivity to this and this needs to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's huge because, I mean, taking it to a whole different level, but it's like even how my wife and I conversate, right? If it's a serious matter, she tends to be a more emotional creature. Like she's not a yeller, but she's just her tone and her voice raises a little bit and it annoys me. Right? I'm like, we're just having a normal conversation here. Like, I'm not sure why we have to increase our tone, but that's just the human aspect, right? That's how they respond to things. And it's like, I could learn to tolerate that a little better and she could learn to probably not quite be so emotionally, just like you said, it's not like yelling and screaming. It's just matter of fact. It's very like more aggressive tone, shall we say, right? Louder.
Yeah. And inside of our team architects thing that we call that person expressive and on the opposites, it's under their responsiveness, right? So they're expressive. So they're going to show the energy that's in the room. Like when it's sad, they're like, oh, and when it's happy, they're happy. But they're just expressing emotion. And there's people that are really calm and they bother that person because they're like, are you here? Like, do you see what's going on? And you're like,
it's the coolest thing that's ever happened. And you're over here.
Or you're late to the airport. Or there's a lot of traffic around. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's driving me. And you're like, yeah, there's a lot of people. I don't know. I mean, but they're expressive with their emotion. And because of that, so it's so helpful when we understand that about not just about ourselves, but about others. And we can leverage that in the way that we communicate and the way that we, especially in a leadership scenario, when I have a result that needs to happen. Imagine, well, you mentioned military, you mentioned your time in the service. Thank you for that. I would say that in the time of war or the time of a severe urgency or something about it, like people are literally living with life and death, a leader has to be able to get the result without creating chaos. If the leader was like, oh my gosh, the bombs are flying everywhere, people are going to run around like ants, as opposed to I have to be direct focused and get people to move to initiative without chaos. And that is the definition of leadership is how do I get that to happen without creating an obstacle in the path.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's its own stressor, right? As owners and leaders as well, right? Because you can't show that emotion. You have to turn that emotion into confidence, right? Even though in the pit of your belly, you're like, this could be trouble, but I can't show it that way.
And so many times, you hear people say, well, my team doesn't care like I do, or no one will ever care like me. They don't have they don't have the same stake in the game. They don't have the financial risk. They don't have we got legal battle that I'm fighting or whatever it is. And while there's truth to that, that doesn't mean that they can't contribute to success through a shared vision and common alignment,
Yeah, 1,000%. What would you say gives you the biggest leverage, right, in your business right now, or in other businesses, right? It could be AI, it could be software, it could be humans. Where are you seeing that? And again, I'll let you go either way with it, yourself or people you coach.
AI is hard not to bring up, and I say that the human in the loop with AI is key. I think there's a, if you roll back the calendar 3 years, AI was coming out. People are like, I hear about it, and it wasn't brand new. It was just getting to be more popular, and everybody went to Chat GPT and they started using it like Google, and they found out it was very, very resourceful. So information is cheap. It's everywhere. You don't no longer have to go to the library or ask a guru that's been around for years. You have information is at your fingertips. It's literally every expert is now devalued because that same information is in the hand of someone in a cell phone. The human to that is the key. How to leverage it with the human in the loop and discernment. And so, from a coaching perspective, we could talk about AI. We could talk about how to leverage it. We could say, can it save time? Quit thinking about the future. Think about how you save your current time. But there's always going to be a need for discernment, and I think that's where a lot of people get shiny object syndrome. They get a bunch of different apps, and you've seen it. Like everybody's like, well, I used to use Chat GPT, and now Claude is so much better. And then all of a sudden, Chat GPT does an upgrade, and I got to go back to Chat GPT. And it's like, hey, pick a tool that solves a problem that you have currently and stick with it, and don't jump from jump to jump, because there's hundreds of tools out there, and someone's going to continue to capitalize on the fact that there's a need for a solution. You don't have to jump to them. You can solve it with what you're currently doing and with your team. So I think that's one of the things that I have is the ability to not react. I respond. Yeah. So I don't get like, this, that, this. And I really look to leverage what I'm currently using without adding and rechanging everything.
I think it's funny because you mentioned that chat to Claude, and I chuckle because I obviously have a lot of guests on these shows, and one of them we got into an interesting conversation of taking it to the next level, which is taking chat to challenge it against Claude, and then taking those same prompts and taking Claude to challenge it against chat. And I'm just like, I get that, but let's just stick in one. I mean, if it were me, stick in one. But it goes back to a lot of what you say. Business owners are always chasing the next cool thing. And I've said in a couple of episodes that it's like I almost see AI to some degree like the app craze, right? When apps first rolled out, there was a couple hundred apps to choose from, and now all of a sudden you can have 200 apps just to figure out how to do calculators.
Yeah, and you can create your own now with AI, and I think the key is like 100%, and it's how do I leverage AI without getting shiny object, and how can I leverage it as a tool and not as a solution? I think that's a lot of people are like, I need this new program to do this, and it's like, yes, you can. And most of those programs, if you look at whether they were Microsoft and let's say Google and even like something like Canva and these other things, they've all incorporated AI. So people are like, I can do this now instead of using that. And you're like, or you can just continue to use that because AI is now incorporated to it.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of my mentors has always said, like, he's not a big believer in using AI to create new things in his world for most business owners, right? Because they're just not going to be competitive in that market based on just where a lot of the big businesses are and all that. But to your point, he's like, it is a powerful tool to integrate into your existing world, right? Your infrastructure, tweaking your strategy, your vision, like all of that stuff is great brainstorming, but quit going out and buying and chasing new tools because you think it's going to be the next best thing you can create, right, as a solution or a service to somebody else. Mm-hmm. Very interesting. What's a lesson that you've learned in your life, just in general, the hard way? Could be business, could be personal, wherever you want to take that.
There are so many. I would say believing or thinking that I can't get someone to do something better than me. Yeah. Like I'm only so, and holding on to responsibility. I think I learned that. I believed that young in my career. And I learned to overcome that, which gave me more time. And I think that once I learned that delegation with authority creates empowerment creates advantage with that person, and that person can. So a lot of times, as an example, I might tell someone they need to do something, and they come back, and then let's say I said, Mike, I need you to go talk to so and so and tell them this, and that person doesn't interact, and they come back to me, and rather than going, well, what did Mike tell you to do, and empowering that person. If I continue to answer that, I created a bottleneck, and I just end up being without being able to say. So I would say one of the things that I learned was to believe that others can do better than I can, and I can empower them and give them the authority, and ultimately that gives me the time freedom.
Yeah. A big book I push a lot on these podcasts too is I don't know if you've read that or had a chance to read it, but is the Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time.
Yeah.
So powerful in the models and they're on how to get leverage. And sometimes 80% is better than not getting it done at all. And just really helps level set those mindsets of nobody can do it like me. It's like, well, one, that's probably not true. I can guarantee you I can find anybody somewhere in the world that can do it better than you. And number two, yeah, like you said, but how long is it taking you, and is it distracting you from the higher dollar per hour work that you should be focusing in on, right? So
yeah, his brilliance in that book was really talking the language of the person that says, yeah, no one can do it better than me, and that may be true, but if they give you 80% and you get 100% of your time back,
yes,
all of a sudden it clicks to people. Well, okay, and why are you doing a $15 an hour task when your hour is worth $100? And they're like, oh yeah, then it's mathematically it doesn't make any sense. And so he had, he certainly read the book, and I believe the concept because there is brilliance behind. But he said what people knew. It connected with the visionary that goes, yeah, why am I doing this? I can have all of my time back.
Yeah, and it's like the value, right? The work effort and value per dollar, right? It's like I'll sit there and bring that up in our masterminds that we have, where it's all business owners. A lot of them are visionary coming in with the virtual assistant leverage world, right? And it's like, how much time do you spend in the $10 task? And we put a whole bunch on there, right? And it's like, okay, cool. That's who you are, right? You're a $10 an hour worker, right? This is why your business is maybe a piece of why your business isn't growing and scaling. It's certainly more complicated than that, but getting them to understand like where you spend your time is going to be a determination of where your success in your business is, for sure, as the owner. All right. Well, Brandon, I'd like to move us into our lightning round, my friend. So I'm going to hit you with some single question and super quick answers. Should be pretty quick. What's your favorite business book?
I read a lot of books. I'm at 26 this year. That's actually tougher than I think. For what is the problem to solve on the business book? Because I read a lot of books.
Got it. Love it. Love it. Pick one. That'll work. What is your best purchase over $10,000?
Proximity to masterminds. Proximity to the right community. I spend well over that a year in just connection to high level thinkers.
Love that. Love that. Been there, done that. And it's so powerful. So good. What's your favorite AI tool yourself?
I use Chat GPT all the time. I actually have a dialogue with it daily.
Yep. Perfect. What is your most impactful habit, as in Brandon Carter?
I would say consistency in my calendar with time blocking and being intentional about everything I do every day.
What's one thing you would never delegate?
Probably, I delegate a lot. So I would say relationship to when it comes to anything that is around relationship to a customer. I can delegate the deliverables, but the relationship is still something that I have.
And that's usually where most business owners' highest and best value in dollars is anyways, is out there in front of their people. All right. If Brandon Carter had his own dictionary that he wrote and he had to define leverage, how would his definition look in his own dictionary book?
Definition of leverage. Leverage is moving from disadvantage to advantage efficiently with the use of resources that you have available.
Love it. Love it. Good job. Appreciate the interview today. Brought a lot of wisdom, and I'm always empowered to hear about the EOS and the integration and just the entire coaching world when it comes to the frac CFO and just various components. I'm super stoked to get to know more about you for sure. Our audience definitely pulled some value out of this. If they want to reach out and connect directly with you for either business opportunities or utilize your services or just ask you questions, Brandon, how they do that?
Yeah, so I'm active on Facebook in DMs as well as LinkedIn, and I would say my business is Backbone Solutions LLC. So that is another way to understand a little bit more about me. So again, Brandon Carter, Facebook or LinkedIn, and then Backbone Solutions LLC is my business.
Perfect. And as all my guests know, at the end of every show, I say I've got all the connections as well. So reach out to me or put them in our YouTube comments, tag me on it. Our team will make sure you get connected. Sometimes they'll hit us in a week. Sometimes they hit us a year later. So I'm very make it important to make sure we document every one of our contacts. So that way, months and years later, we can still piece them together should we need to do so. So Brandon, thanks so much for coming in today. To our audience, we'll see you on the next episode.
All right. Thank you, Mike.